Catherine de Medici is infamous for the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre. In August 1572, thousands of Protestant nobles were slaughtered in Paris, a calculated political move, not random violence. The killings spread across France, with estimates of up to 30,000 dead. This cemented her reputation as the Black Queen, a ruler who would do anything to protect her family's grip on the throne. Catherine ruled through fear, not popularity. For over 30 years, she was the most powerful person in France, navigating a kingdom torn by religious wars. Her goal, the survival of the Valois dynasty, represented by her 3 sons who became king. Executions were public statements, designed to warn anyone who threatened her children's reign. She was an Italian in a French court that distrusted foreigners, a widow managing a collapsing kingdom. Her actions, often brutal, were driven by a desperate need to maintain order and secure her family's power. She believed swift violence could prevent a longer, bloodier civil war. Whether she was right is still debated, but the fear she inspired was real. Understanding Catherine means looking at her choices in crisis. Her use of fear went beyond executions. It was a sophisticated system of control. She employed spies, manipulated court factions, and used her children as pawns. Catherine was a master of intelligence, always staying a step ahead of her enemies. Her story is more than myth. It's about the methods she used to hold on to power. From public hangings to secret plots, Catherine's reign plunged France into an age of terror. To understand her, we must examine the tools she wielded and the legacy of fear she left behind. This is the story of the Black Queen's shadow. Catherine de Medici arrived in France in 1533 as a 14-year-old bride, instantly marked as an outsider. The French court saw her as a merchant's daughter, not true royalty, and called her l'Italienne, a constant reminder she didn't belong. For 10 years, she failed to produce an heir, while her husband Henry favored his mistress, Diane de Poitiers. Isolated and fearful of disgrace, Catherine learned to watch, listen, and survive. She studied the court's alliances and rivalries, realizing she'd have to create her own allies. Her fortunes changed when she finally had children, 10 in all, 7 surviving. This secured her position, but she remained in Diane's shadow until Henry's sudden death in 1559. Her frail son, Francis II, became king, and Catherine stepped into power as Queen Mother. Her outsider status fueled suspicion and hostility, with enemies painting her as a scheming Italian. She brought the political traditions of Renaissance Italy, where intrigue was an art, to France. Catherine didn't trust the ambitious French nobility. She built her own intelligence network and was prepared to use ruthless methods to protect her sons. Her early struggles taught her that power wasn't given, it had to be seized and defended. As regent, she faced a kingdom on the brink of collapse. Every move was calculated for survival. Catherine's outsider perspective made her both vulnerable and dangerous. She learned to turn suspicion into a weapon. Her rise from foreign bride to power broker set the stage for her reign of fear. The Italian queen would stop at nothing to secure her family's legacy. Catherine de Medici mastered the art of information. She built a vast network of spies, servants, priests, soldiers, reaching into every corner of France and beyond. She trusted only intelligence she gathered herself. Her agents reported on everything: political plots, personal gossip, secret alliances. This gave her a decisive edge, allowing her to anticipate and neutralize threats before they erupted. She played enemies against each other, leaking information to fuel rivalries and prevent unity against the crown. Divide and conquer was her strategy. The court became a place of paranoia. No one knew who to trust. Fear of being overheard or betrayed kept nobles in check. Catherine cultivated this atmosphere intentionally. Her intelligence network was psychological warfare as much as espionage. If her enemies were afraid to conspire, her son's throne was safer. Information was her deadliest weapon. Catherine's authority was tested in 1560 with the conspiracy of Amboise. Protestant nobles plotted to kidnap the king and free him from the Guise family's grip. Catherine's spies uncovered the plot early. Instead of quiet arrests, she and the Guises staged a public crackdown. The conspirators were caught in the act and executed without mercy. The Château d'Amboise became a stage for terror. Dozens hanged, others drowned, bodies left on display. Even the young king and Mary, Queen of Scots, were forced to watch. The message was clear: defiance would be met with overwhelming force. This brutal spectacle set the tone for Catherine's reign. She learned that public terror could crush dissent, at least temporarily. The crackdown didn't solve religious tensions, but it solidified her power. Catherine proved she was willing to use violence to protect the monarchy. The Italian queen was not to be underestimated. Her lesson fear could be as effective as loyalty. The age of terror had begun. The St. Bartholomew's Day massacre is Catherine's most infamous legacy. In August 1572, Paris was filled with Protestant nobles for her daughter's wedding to Henry of Navarre. The marriage was meant to heal religious divisions, but Catherine saw an opportunity. An assassination attempt on Admiral Coligny triggered panic among the Catholic leadership. Catherine and her son, King Charles IX, decided on a preemptive strike. The plan eliminate key Huguenot leaders in one night. But the violence spiraled out of control. Paris erupted in bloodshed and the massacre spread across France. Thousands died. Reconciliation was destroyed for a generation. Catherine's exact role is debated, but her reputation as the Black Queen was sealed. The massacre showed the ultimate cost of ruling by fear. It was a catastrophe that forever stained her name. The hope for peace was lost. The violence she unleashed could not be contained. Her legacy became one of terror and betrayal. The shadow of that night would haunt France for decades. Catherine's control extended beyond violence. She wielded seduction as a weapon. Her flying squadron of loyal, charming ladies-in-waiting doubled as spies and agents of influence. These women gathered secrets from powerful men, reporting everything to Catherine. They manipulated politics, forming relationships to sway decisions and undermine rivals. Personal desires became levers of statecraft. The flying squadron enhanced Catherine's reputation for cunning and treachery. Her enemies accused her of running a court of debauchery, but the truth was more strategic than scandalous. Catherine understood human weakness and exploited it ruthlessly. In her court, intimacy could have deadly consequences. Espionage and seduction made her rule even more formidable. In Catherine's France, sudden deaths were blamed on poison, and no one was more suspected than her. Her Italian heritage fueled rumors of dark arts and assassination. Whether she actually used poison is unclear, but the fear she might was a weapon in itself. Deaths of rivals like Jean d'Albret were attributed to her, despite lack of evidence. The legend of the Poison Queen grew, isolating Catherine but keeping enemies off balance. Nobles feared eating or drinking in her presence. Catherine did little to dispel these rumors, understanding their power. Paranoia reigned at court. Plots, both real and imagined, were met with brutal force. Catherine trusted few, relying on spies and preemptive strikes. The cycle of fear and violence defined her reign. The specter of poison was psychological terror, as effective as any blade. Her reputation alone could kill. At the core of Catherine's actions was a mother's desperate drive to protect her sons and their dynasty. She was mother to three kings, Francis II, Charles IX, and Henry III, all weak in different ways. The kingdom was torn by war, and powerful nobles threatened the throne. Catherine's ruthless tactics were, in her mind, necessary for survival. She dominated her sons, making decisions for them and pushing them to be strong. Every plot foiled, every execution ordered was to keep a Valois king on the throne. The St. Bartholomew's Day massacre was a panicked attempt to eliminate threats to her son. As her sons died without heirs, her desperation grew. The Valois line was doomed. Catherine's final years were spent battling chaos and failure. She died months before her last son was assassinated. The throne passed to Henry of Navarre, the very man she once tried to destroy. Catherine de Medici's legacy is one of blood and fear. She's remembered as the Black Queen, architect of massacre and master of intrigue. Her reign was built on terror but also on holding France together in chaos. She faced down ambitious nobles, religious fanatics, and foreign threats. Her achievements, arts, architecture, survival, are overshadowed by violence. Catherine's story is a case study in ruling by fear. Terror crushed dissent but bred more hatred and violence. The massacre created martyrs, not peace. In the end, her rule by fear failed to save her dynasty or bring stability. Her reputation for cruelty endures. Yet she remains a fascinating, complex figure, a queen who fought for her family with every weapon she had. Her life is a dark chapter in the story of power. To understand her world, keep exploring the shadows of history.